When I was a kid, my dad and I used to love watching Doctor Who together. Like many others, one of the scariest parts to me were the Weeping Angels. They're these freaky monsters that look like statues, but they move when unobserved. From Resident Evil to Lethal Company, you can find monsters inspired by Weeping Angels all over the video game industry, but they usually lack one core part of what made Weeping Angels such a scary concept to me as a kid. They don't react to your blinking. That's why, alongside some friends, I've been working on a horror game called Vigil, with a monster that reacts to your real-life blinking. The story of Vigil starts over a year ago with another game we made called Schrodinger. Me and some friends were about to take a university course together, where we'd have 2.5 months to make a game. We were excited, so we started brainstorming early. We decided to make a game based off Schrodinger's cat, a famous quantum physics thought experiment where a cat in a box is both alive and dead until you open it. The point of this thought experiment is to show how, in quantum physics, particles can exist in multiple states at the same time until observed. We drew inspiration from this and decided to make a narrative puzzle game where the state of objects would change depending on if you're observing them or not. We were inspired by a phenomenal game called Before Your Eyes to incorporate blinking detection into this game as a part of this observation state switching. With this idea, we were pretty worried about getting blink detection working in Unity. Katya, the other programmer on this game, managed to find a solution pretty quickly though. She started by making a program in Python that can read how open a player's eyes are, and output a value between 0 and 1 based off that. Then she used something called an IPC to have the game read that value from the external blinking program. Lastly, by setting a threshold for what value is considered blinking, we could detect whether or not someone is blinking in-game. She continued iterating on this solution throughout the rest of development too, which led to really responsive blinking detection. In the meantime, the rest of us made a bunch of surreal blinking puzzles. The final puzzles we made ended up being really cool and unique, but we probably should have done a bit more research into how to design a puzzle game. All of the puzzles were very disconnected and barely built upon each other. While designing puzzles, we also got the idea to add mannequins that behave like weeping angels. The idea of weeping angel enemies that could react to your real-life blinking was super exciting to us, but ended up getting shelved because of concerns about our game scope. This idea never fully left our minds though. After creating a solid number of puzzles, we started working on the game's narrative. In Schrodinger, you play as a scientist with a sick cat named Atlas. You build a quantum machine that's supposed to stabilize Atlas, but something goes wrong when you use it. You lose Atlas, and you don't know if he's dead or alive. You then go on a surreal journey to find him, and things around you start changing states when unobserved. We were all really proud of this narrative, but we all agree that we definitely could have leaned a little bit more into show don't tell with our execution of it. Despite the flaws in how we designed puzzles and told the game's story, we were all still really proud at the end of development. Players seemed to really like it, and Schrodinger even got nominated for a few student awards at the Swedish Game Awards. We even managed to win Best Technology because of the blinking detection software. After this development cycle, we all knew that we wanted to keep working together, so we signed up for another university course that would allow us to. We had a hard time deciding whether to continue with Schrodinger or try something new for this course. Ultimately, we decided to revisit the mannequin idea we had during Schrodinger and create a horror game fully focused on that. The horror game we made after Schrodinger was called Mori. Mori sucked. We spent a couple of months working on it, and it just never ended up being fun or scary. Early in development, we realized how oversaturated Weeping Angel-inspired monsters were in video games, which made us feel like every other aspect of our game has to be super unique. We barely looked at other games for reference, and that led us to make a lot of bad design decisions. Instead of a more traditional monster, we designed these strange creatures. Players didn't find them very scary. Instead of a more traditional art style, we tried to replicate the art of Gustave Eiffel. We spent way too much time on this, and it didn't even end up looking very good. We also focused way too much on making a unique story and world, which took time away from developing a fun gameplay loop. It's not bad to try to make things unique, but it's also not bad to look at other games for inspiration. You can learn a lot from other games. At the end of the university course, our team's morale was pretty low because of how awful Mori was. We didn't want to stop working together, but we definitely didn't want to keep working on Mori. We decided to make a new game, and with it, we wanted to try again on this Weeping Angel idea, but with a new approach. We wanted to focus on gameplay and atmosphere first and foremost. We wouldn't worry too much about making everything about the game unique or worry too much about our narrative. We'd just focus on making a fun and scary horror game. Thesis work was coming up, and we decided to incorporate development into our thesis work. We collectively wrote 2 research papers, one on designing around blinking detection, and one on how blinking detection affects horror. We knew we were going to be super tight on time, so we got straight into development on our new horror game, Vigil. Despite how bad Mori was overall, there were a few salvageable qualities, so we started development by grabbing the player controller, Weeping Angel logic, and a few other systems from Mori. Then we built out a warehouse level with a forklift, a few scripted events, and eye scanners that require you to hold your eyes open to access new areas. When we tested this level though, it wasn't scary at all. Fear and tension are generally hard to evoke in a white box stage of development, but there were more fundamental issues with what we had made as well. First of all, the warehouse was just too big, and that made the player feel pretty safe because it's easier to evade a monster in a big open area. Also, the scripted events we made were pretty bad, and the forklift was just goofy. To fix these problems, we started by replacing the warehouse with a claustrophobic underground facility. Then, instead of moving boxes around with the forklift, we gave the player the simple task of incinerating boxes. We also added some visuals, sounds, and new scripted events that incorporate your blinking. With all of these changes, the game started to get a lot scarier. Some of the scripted events weren't great right off the bat, but we iterated on them over time and improved them. With a solid base for the game done, we took some time to create lore. I really like what we created, but I won't give any spoilers in this video. I feel like it's more fun for people to discover it on their own. Throughout the rest of development, we scattered little storytelling elements throughout the rest of the game to communicate this lore. Afterwards, we needed to make a main menu. Usually it's not a big deal adding a main menu to a game, but this time it was for us. We made this main menu and it got us so much more excited about the rest of the game. We also added a basketball to the game. No real reason, we just thought it would be fun. During this first half of the game's development, we had quite a few discussions about how we wanted to approach horror. Did we just want scripted events similar to a game like Mortuary's Assistant, or did we want a monster chasing you around the map like in Alien Isolation? What we decided on in the end was a bit of both. We wanted scripted events in the beginning and a monster that chases you around later in the game. We all wanted something fairly basic for the monster design to ensure it's actually scary, unlike the Mori monster. So our 3D artist, Hamad, designed this automaton for the game. If you don't know what an automaton is, it's defined as a moving mechanical device made in imitation of a human being. It's not the most original design for a horror game, but it's definitely scary. With this monster design in place, we wanted to start working on the core of our game, that Weeping Angel experience. Before we could do that though, we had to take a 2.5-week break to write our research papers. After we were done with writing, we were very tight on time. We quickly built out a new area of the facility for the automaton encounter, and made some simple Weeping Angel AI for the automaton. We also of course had to add a jump scare for when the monster gets you. We then added an ending and a bit of environmental storytelling to this section. Even though this section of the game was rushed, it ended up being pretty scary. It had one big issue though. It had no player guidance at all. It was just a labyrinth of identical corridors, which made this section way too hard. After a while of being scared, players would just end up frustrated. We managed to fix that pretty quickly though by adding some landmarks and a little bit more player guidance. We also improved the automaton's navigation AI a bit to make this part of the game a little bit easier. At this point, we were pretty much done with the game and about to graduate. We were all super proud of what we had made, so we decided to spend a little bit of extra time on the game to prepare it for a small Steam release. For this, we did a bunch of bug fixing, added some Steam achievements, and tweaked a few gameplay aspects. We also found a voice actor during this time who did a great job with his lines. With those changes, we were done with development. Despite it being a fairly rushed student project, I'm super proud of the game we made. It's not a perfect game, but in my opinion it's a huge step up from Schrodinger and way better than Mori. It was a great way to end my university studies as well. Thank you so much to everyone on the team for making this game so much fun to work on. Everyone did an amazing job. If you want to check the game out for free on Steam, there's a link in the description. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Thanks for watching.